Hi, I'm Mitchell Ledbetter, first year at Hiram College, and this is my district project final. So the idea of fairness, when it comes down to the districts it falls into, the biggest one seems to be equal population. The population of the area and the perimeter should equal around 0.53, would probably is one of the better proportional amounts. Having an overpowering group is my idea for what I think is actually fair when it comes to how districts should be distributed. Like, for example, if there's 30 Democrats, 10 Republicans, it should be split in more of a way where those 30 Democrats look like they're getting their point of view instead of trying to make it an equal amount where people are just not getting their say. My idea is that you should be packing instead of cracking. Packing is the idea of putting people with the same ideals into the same district so their point of view is looked at more thoroughly, rather than cracking, which is kind of distributing all of them all over the place, making it so there's a possible chance that the Democrats who have the more powerful views don't get their say. People would say that cracking is the better way to go, or having more competitive districts, due to the fact that it makes it seem like every vote matters just a little bit more. That is not necessarily true, due to the fact that if you have a ton of votes, say 50, and the districts are split up 26-24, at the end of the day, all the districts, that district will still end up going to the other side, whether or not how competitive it ends up being. So even if it's 40-10 one way, it's still meaning just as much one way or another when it comes to the points distributed. You would rather have your votes compacted in areas so you have more of a chance to win other districts, rather than having a ton of votes spread out evenly and then just losing all representation due to the fact that you're not winning the districts in close races. When in our groups, the biggest things we talked about was the idea of the population, the location, and how the competitiveness is. For the population, we talked about how everything needs to be decently even. So above the 0.5 average between area and perimeter. That also kind of falls to the location. Everything needs to be more close together. You can't have someone in one corner of the map and a group in the other one, because based off different states, if you're, say, one area has a lake while the other area doesn't, they're going to be impacted vote differently based off people's point of views. It's a difficult scenario to look at all the situations of everyone and being able to split up the districts for it. So when you look at the districts, you need to be able to look at the considering facts of where people are located, because if you don't, people will vote differently and the swings will be voted differently. And the competitiveness we talked about was the other two thought that it was better to have more competitive districts, while I believe that it was a better scenario to have uncompetitive districts, because if you don't have a competitive district, everyone will have a better point of view based off being able to win other districts and getting points for states from those districts. So when I was going through my districts, the number one priority that I went through was the idea to try to keep all the populations more compact. So what I started with is in the yellow section in the top left corner, I tried to get all of that kind of together. Went over 6, down 2, and then I had that one extra 1 to try to make sure that the Democrats were a little bit more dominant in that section. Then the pink section, which is the most complete one of the group, is something I compacted into a 3x4 section and just squared off. It was a perfect section with Democrats dominating that section as well. Going down a little bit is the next section I went to with the red. The red section, also Democrat dominated, was another pretty solid and easy section where I just kind of went down 4 and sectioned that off, and then I needed one more to kind of make it all even, so I gave them that. And then the blue section was just kind of finishing off that entire line. Now the orange, green, and purple sections were a little bit more complicated and a little less compact, but still compact enough to the point where I can get my point across. The orange section just kind of sectioned off all the remaining stuff from the right side of the board, getting everything down and 2 over with an extra 3, and then a wild 5 Republican section just to kind of section them off. The green section ended up being kind of more remains after I did the purple section, which got me a 3x3 section and then a staircase of 2 and 1 of 6 total Democrats there and one independent. And then I kind of used the remaining section that ended up evening out quite solidly, which was just all green, to keep everything even. The Democrats dominated most of these sections. The Republicans ended up having the other sections, and I'm pretty sure Independent was competing with one. But that blue section was the only one that was very complicated, because when I was looking through what dominated what, the biggest problem that I saw was in the purple and blue sections, being able to distribute those in a way that was both compact and also uncompetitive. And it was very, very difficult to be able to get both of them because of how the numbers were distributed. And it was hard to get them separated because it was just in a very big clumps. So what I saw is that the blue section is the only section in the entire thing that is not as competitive, as it's split up in a way where Democrats, Republicans, and Independents are all pretty even, and the Democrats narrowly win out by 2 over the Republicans and the Independents. So it was a little bit more complicated getting to the end of that. This took me a total of 4 tries to be able to figure out, but at the end of the day, I think I'm pretty satisfied with what I've came up with, and I think it's a pretty solid distribution of sections. So for the math, in the 7 districts, it splits up between District 1 having 37, District 2 having 38, District 3 having 37, District 4 having 38, District 5 having 38, District 6 having 39, and having District 7 with 37. With that, it keeps it a pretty consistent amount, keeping them on the range between 37, 38, and 39. There's nothing that much higher, there's nothing that much lower, it's keeping them very well compact. The math that goes into it. So for the perimeter, you need to find it's 16 times the area divided by the perimeter gets you this answer. So now for the District 1, it's 16 times 13 divided by 18 squared, which is 208 divided by 324 equals 0.641. Nothing that I'm going to say here is under 5.5. They're all in a pretty good compact numbers. District 2 is 16 times 12, which is 192, divided by 14 squared, which is 196, which gives us a compact number of 0.80, which is very impressive already. District 3 is 16 times 17 divided by 18 squared, which is 272 divided by 324, which gives us 0.84. District 4 is 16 times 21 divided by 24 squared, which is 336 divided by 576 equals 0.583. District 5 is 16 times 14 divided by 20 squared to get us 224 divided by 400, which is 0.560, the lowest amount of all districts, which is impressive. District 6 is 16 times 12 divided by 16 squared, which is 192 divided by 256, which gives us 0.75. And then the last one for District 7 is 16 times 11, which is 176, divided by 14 squared, which is 196, to get us 0.898. These numbers are very well compact and in a good set of numbers, keeping it a good perimeter. Thank you.